Welcome to The Holistic Nurse with your host, Peggy Smith. Peggy will introduce and educate her viewers about the differences between alternative, holistic, and complementary medical therapies. Her goal is to empower the lay medical consumer to learn how to advocate for themselves. So now, please welcome the host of The Holistic Nurse, Peggy Smith.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of The Holistic Nurse. Today, we're going to be talking about journaling, and it's not as many people think of that as homework and boring, and other people feel like they have to be perfect at it. And we're going to look at it from the perspective of complementary healing medicine. It's another tool in our toolbox, and we have our guest today who is actually a journaling coach. She teaches people how to, well, she'll tell you what she teaches people how to do. Her name is Dee, and Dee comes to us from Florida. I wish I was in Florida right now. Um, and Dee is, that's her career is journaling. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, thank you so very much, Miss Becky, for having me on your show today. I really appreciate it. Hello everyone. My name is Just D. I am a certified journal therapy coach, and I'm here to kind of give some holistic background about journaling and how it could definitely help people turn their trials to triumph as well as their pain to purpose.
Okay, a lot of people think, I'm not a writer. I know sometimes with some of my weight loss clients and things in hypnosis, I recommend that they, keep track of journaling. And I know myself, like, every year the school year started, you got new copybooks. It was great in September. By the end of September, you want new copybooks again because you've already doodled crummy doodles and you, you don't like it anymore. Nobody usually sees your journal. It's just, between you and yourself. And
Mhm.
um, it it's some people that truly feel like they can't write, or maybe they even have verbal, cognition or learning
Mhm.
disabilities. It can be a verbal journal. Most people have cell phones. You can just hit the microphone and record it.
Exactly.
And one of the benefits that I've seen with my clients over the years is you might feel like, every day is hell and every day is worse. But if you're keeping
Mhm.
even a short few lines every day, you realize, oh, gee, last Monday was pretty good. How did I miss it?
You're absolutely right,
Uh,
and that's what I tell my clients is making sure that simple and even small steps help them get to their next step.
it's kind of like when you're trying to go on to create a budget, to manage your
Mhm.
finances. If you don't make a list in the beginning of where your money's actually going, and when you see how much money you wasted, you're not supposed to beat yourself up and, say, "Oh, this was a bad idea." I think in your practice, not making assumptions, but you help your clients realize how to be kind to themselves.
Yes,
Um,
that's very important in the work that I do. People don't realize that even the littlest things that you go through when you get some type of victory, you have to celebrate it. You have to understand that you matter first and your happiness matters as well. So little things like that, we definitely teach that.
I've known people that have told me, "Well, happiness is not a goal." I mean, I I
Wow.
live in, I'm always going to be financially challenged. I didn't go in with
Mhm.
a silver spoon. I just want to survive. And it takes a long time for somebody that's starting at that perspective to get to the point that you can do better than survive. And
Exactly.
everybody's definition of doing better is not the same for each other. But
Mhm.
I learned in my own journeys, you have to learn to forgive yourself.
Yes,
Uh,
forgiveness is definitely very important to learn that, and forgiveness is not an easy thing for people to learn, because you gotta think about it, it's a lot of different traumas, but that holds on to forgiveness, that for helping them to get that release, it takes time, and they have to understand that they have to forgive themselves first.
there's a real good resource on forgiveness. It's called Radical Forgiveness by Colin
Okay,
Tippin. It's a book that
okay.
I often recommend to people that are struggling. He actually has exercises to learn to accept yourself, and it's important when you're judging. Nobody's going to see it unless you're going to share it with a coach like Dee.
Mhm. Yep.
So, your writing doesn't have to be perfect. It can just be broken sentences. It doesn't have to be, your English teacher's not looking over your shoulder. Um,
Mhm.
and you got to learn not only to forgive yourself, but not to judge yourself. Like, just this is it, so we can see where we're starting from. Because if you don't know where you're starting, you don't know how to get to point B that you'd like to get to.
Exactly. I mean, you hit it right on the nail. Different steps works. People don't realize that steps actually do work. And the smaller the steps are, the more you'll be able to understand how you're actually transforming into the person that you need to be, or as we was talking about, forgiveness or celebrating yourself.
So when you have a client come to you, how do you usually approach? And I assume you do virtual and
That is correct.
inpatient. Excuse me, I'm a nurse. Yeah, in person is what I was trying to say. Um, so somebody reaches out to you, and you're having an initial interview, maybe over the phone or whatever. How do you describe what you offer to them, and how it could be helpful?
So pretty much, if a person comes to me and they contact me, whether via email or phone, the first question I ask is, what is it that you're trying to change, or what is it that you're trying to enhance? Because usually those are the two things that people come to me with: is I'm trying to change this, or I want to enhance that. So once I figure out or identify what those two things are, then I start to ask them, well, do you journal? That's the question that I ask everybody. Do you journal? And people will tell me, well, yeah, I write. But I said, are you writing as a diary or a journal? Because there's two different things. See, a diary is they're one and the same, but they're still different. So with a diary, it's more of free thoughts, free writing. You just kind of writing what you're feeling, and which there's nothing wrong with that. But a journal is where it's guided prompts to help you understand whatever situation that you're going through, or whatever pain that or trauma that you have right now that you're having a hard time to identify and decipher through. Once I figure out those and ask them those questions, then we start with a 5 day one-on-one coaching. To get them to, because I won't be able to heal everything in one session. So we definitely need way more time to identify. But we will start with the first thing and we'll break it down.
So when I'm working with a client, obviously I do some energy practicing medicine and things like that too. Um, do you start off with maybe a set of survivor skills for when things come up, or um,
So pretty much I start with quotes. So I start with quotes, and I ask specific quotes to see how their thinking is. So like for instance, one of the quotes that I would start off with is don't look back, something may be gaining on you, by Satchel Paige. That is definitely a quote that I love starting with because I want to
excuse
see
me, I
what
forgot to mention everybody. She's also a musician, so we may
Yeah.
have a few allegories like that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, 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 you're fine. And so I asked that question and to find out where their mind is, because sometimes a lot of people don't understand there is something that might be gaining on them, but they can't look back, or they're afraid to look back, or there might be a fear of, if they do look back, this is what's going to happen. So I try to see where their mindset is. So I asked them a certain quotes that will come up.
What you just said kind of made me think. Sometimes things come up, and a person's not ready to deal with it.
Hmm.
So, uh, there has to be, maybe let them know ahead of time that it's okay if you're not ready yet. Maybe there's something
Hmm.
else you're ready for to go, or things work in steps. You're not going to dive off the deep end of the swimming pool if you can't wade 3 feet without panicking. Um, and so that I'm not a polar bear swimmer for sure. um, but it's all about baby steps,
Hmm.
and it's many people reach adulthood with all that baggage. I'd say all people reach adulthood with
Hmm.
baggage, and like I remember one of my boys said at 18, I didn't have the greatest of childhood, and
Mm.
my
Wow.
life wasn't like Leave It to Beaver. this is a kid who had year-round swimming, private music lessons at an exclusive music school, private school. And I said, "Well, I'm so glad you're 18 now and you can correct all those terrible things your parents did to you, like soccer and basketball and swimming and, and music lessons." And I
Yeah.
said, I can't wait to see you as a father. He is a father. He's doing a wonderful job. His son is 18, is
Wow.
about to be an Eagle Scout, a musician like my son.
Okay.
And, but it's kind of like, when you're 18 to 21, they say you know everything. Your parents don't know
Mhm.
a thing. Uh, I remember being a teenager and I would swear with my friends, our parents just don't know what it was like to be a kid. And then when my kids were acting out and doing the things, stupid things that I was doing as a teenager, it's like, oh my God, I remember everything. And my parents must have too. They just, so journaling though is something that some people's journals, Diary of Anne Frank, of course, that, you know,
Yes.
not most of us are not going to write a bestseller or make a movie out of our life. Um, but if we could just go to bed at night with, less anxiety and less dread of
Mm.
waking up in the
Mm.
morning and repeating, the same, I don't want to call it mistakes because then you're judging, but, repeating behavior and choices that are less helpful.
Well, and
Um,
you hit it right on the nail about not going to bed with anxiety and waking up with it. One of the things that I also like to do for myself, this is something that I do, is I like to take walks. So I am definitely a journaler. I love to journal. That's one of the reasons why I made my book series, my 5 seasons journals book series, is because I love to journal. And what I do is after a I take a nice little walk, maybe about 20, 30 minutes before I go to bed. And I like to do more of a voice journaling because when I'm walking, I can get things out. I can express more. I can, find why this may be happening after a long day that I might have had. So I definitely do agree that, one of the things that I teach is taking a walk, or writing before you go to bed and then waking up and you have already put everything on paper.
well, they also recommend in some circles to keep a pad by your bed in case you
Mhm.
wake up during the night with either a dream or,
Yes.
something that just pops into you and can't help noticing the symbols behind you.
Yes.
Is that how you get out of some of your stress also?
Yes, that is one way, and it's so funny you said about the pad because I again I use my phone a lot, and anytime that I get some type of inspiration, because I am a musician, I am a international artist, and anytime I get some type of inspiration when I wake up, whether it's a melody or some lyrics, I open up my notepad and my phone, and I'll start or singing it or humming it on the voice recording or writing it down because you never know when inspiration, like you said, will hit. It can hit in the middle of the night. It can hit before you go to bed or when you wake up.
So, what are some of the biggest challenges your client? Oh, you know what? We're going to take a break right here, and we'll
Okay.
come back and talk about challenges that your clients have faced when they begin the journey. We'll be
Yes,
right back.
ma'am.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back to The Holistic Nurse. I'm here with musician and holistic integrative journaling coach, Dee. And we're talking about journaling. And I want to remind people that journaling it's not about writing a bestseller or even anything beautiful. It's just kind of about learning to have a regulated, safe conversation with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not safe with yourself, and, I think one of the things that a lot of people learned in COVID is how to be comfortable with themselves. Most of us always
Yeah.
felt we had to run and be with everybody. When we were stuck at
Mhm.
home, it's like, oh, there's nobody here but me and the dog. I guess, tag, you're it. 'Cause you know, but it's difficult for many people
Mhm.
to be with yourself. You feel like you're always running because you are running, and you're running from those things that are inside that need to come out.
That is
And
so
they
true.
might not even seem like big deals, but they seem to come out in inappropriate times, in different times in your life. Maybe it affects a marriage if you didn't realize what kind of baggage you brought to a new relationship. Uh,
Mhm.
but it's just kind of letting things move out of your head, and it's, being safe with it. It gives you a chance to take a deep breath and say, boy, I'm glad that got out. Many times people are having problems dealing with grief, kind
Mm.
of a grief that somebody left too soon, and maybe they left on bad terms with somebody, they didn't get to say their goodbye. And I recommend writing them a letter that no one's ever going to see but yourself,
Mhm.
but you get out those things that you wanted to say to the person before they left. And um, chances are, my experience, since I'm energetically sensitive, you might even get some responses if you had any questions in those letters to the person that's already gone. But if you hold it in, a couple years from now, it might come out just so inappropriately, totally out of context of the reality that you're in at that time. Because your brain holds these memories and these experiences kind of in a loop, and the stress
Mhm.
gets stored in your body. You end up with high blood pressure, the chemicals in your brain.
Yeah,
The tissues, you can't lose weight because the stress is taking up so much space, and exercise doesn't help,
exactly.
uh,
Yeah,
but
you're right.
they really don't disappear. They're there, and they're there for decades. They come out as tension, fatigue, anxiety, depression, and you feel,
Mm.
well, gee, my life is great. My finances, I got a roof over my head, my bills are paid. Why am I so miserable? And journaling gives you a chance to figure that out in a safe way.
No, you're absolutely right. It really does. And again, you definitely hit some great points about people feeling stuck or, lost in life. That's what a lot of some of my clients will come and feeling like life has paused them or gone backwards, or they have gone backwards. Confusion about purpose and direction. Those are the kind of things that I try to help them identify that these are not their current life season. It's just not. These are feelings, and feelings are not facts. And that's one thing I try to make sure I normalize. Of being stuck often means they're just in a certain season, like winter or spring, or a transitional season, but not failing. That's one thing that I want to make sure I clearly tell them you're not failing at all.
I think one of the biggest reasons that relationships fail is basically unrealistic expectations on the part of
Hmm.
both people in the relationship. And one of the reasons we struggle, even internally, and nobody knows the struggle, is because we have unrealistic expectations of ourselves sometimes.
Yes, that
And
is true.
and maybe it came from a parent or a teacher, that kept repeating a broken record that wasn't healthy. Um, you can recognize it where it came, and maybe it came from the best intentions of the source. They were doing the best they could at that time.
No,
Um,
but
so
communication definitely is key in every relationship. You have to have great communication as well as transparency because, like you said, unreal expectations is one thing, but if they're not communicating those expectations to the people in the relationship, then now you have all this regret and animosity towards each other.
and it's usually not about, the problem is usually not what the topic of the argument is. So
Mhm.
um, back when colleges started having this communication degree, and
Mhm.
I said, "What do you mean? They go to college to learn how to communicate? Didn't they know that growing up?" I'm
Yeah,
an old
right.
person now, but the more I realize it, because video screens and lack of interpersonal connection. Uh,
Mhm.
when I was growing up, we played outside. A meetup was all the bicycles in the playground. Or running, climbing the trees together or something.
Mhm.
Um, so that's one of the downsides of our electronic and technical. That I mean, I see 18 months old with their own iPads sometimes,
Yeah, I
and
mean, and with COVID, when COVID came about, I mean, they made communication way less, even more, because everybody was so stuck in the house. And only thing they had was phones. They had phones, they had iPads. That's all they had.
you end up, because you see a lot of AI type stuff, and even before AI, just false information out there. As far
Mhm.
as not talking politics, I'm talking about just personal. As a teenager, you're comparing yourself to somebody who looks like they just came out of Young Miss magazine or something. Um, and really, they're probably sitting behind their computer in their pajamas. And that was just a fake picture. You cartoon yourself. I tell you. Um, so one of the hardest things besides forgiving yourself, I think, is really being honest with yourself. Because if you truly want to improve your life and improve yourself and be happier, I would say, not saying necessarily happy is a realistic goal for everybody, but just be more content. You have to be honest, because as long as you're deceiving yourself, you're cheating yourself out of a really wonderful life you could have.
No, I definitely do agree with you. Honesty, they always said this old saying is honesty is the best policy. And as I get older, I'm really starting to realize that it actually is the best policy.
Mhm.
It's easier, there's no expectations on it. And me being honest, hey, as long as it's off for me, and I try to tell my clients to the one thing you have to do is release everything off of you. That's one thing we need is you don't need any baggage holding you down, just release it all. Why hold it in? Why have that emotional overload on your body? Why carry that unhealed pain? So I agree with you.
Well, I had a client once who very needy and was calling all the times after hour. This was a traditional nursing home care position, and I suggested, because her phone calls were wearing me out and everything, let's get a coffee can, and each time you feel like calling me, write down what you're going to call me about and put it in the can, and when I come, we'll look at it together. And it was like, wow, I was upset about this. That's so crazy. I don't even remember that. And, yet the world was, the sky was falling each time one of those notes were written. So
I
journaling
think that's
really
a
does
great idea.
help. Yeah, it helped. It takes the emotion out of the moment, because,
Hmm.
you're really angry at your ex-husband, but you don't want to go to jail. So you write down all your feelings on paper, and then it's okay. It's on paper. It's out of you, and you can take a deep breath and move on to the next topic in your life, and nobody's hurt in the process. If you have to burn it to make sure you don't do anything inappropriate with that, do that. But you just, it's part of. And I do want to say here too, journaling is not a replacement for getting uh, professional mental health help if you are dealing with some really serious issues, or if you're feeling unsafe in any way. You do need Journaling will help you as a tool to help you get through the process. But please, anybody who might be struggling, don't think that this is going to be your answer. Uh, call 988 if you need some extra help.
Hmm.
It's not
Yes.
just for people who are suicidal. They can actually put you in touch with resources no matter where you live in the country. Um, and and we want you to be happy, but safety, of course, is paramount.
Exactly.
Uh,
100%.
and there's no shame in struggling. We're all struggling right now. We
Mhm.
don't know what our neighbor's going through. Uh,
Mm-mm.
you know,
And there's
so
no
and a lot of
judgment.
there's no judgment, and
No
also by
judgment.
having a controlling coach like you, you're able to when there you can see an objective perspective a little bit. You might realize, well, you know, you're at menopause time. Maybe your
Mhm.
hormones are affecting some of your negative perspective about life right now.
Exactly.
Um,
It's the alignment that a lot of people don't realize that can be happening, from the internal aspect to the outer environment. It's all about the alignment, why you act or you feel certain ways in life.
so, um, so what do you suggest? Like, how long does a process go when you're working with a client? Is it just a
So
couple sessions, or how does that work?
So it all depends. I mean, on the actual client, whether they want more sessions. Usually to help a person solve at least one issue, it takes about between 5 to 7 days. Because it's only one issue and we dissect it. We identify, we dissect it, we find, where the lessons are, where the strengths are, and then that's when you start to eventually find the purpose. One thing I like to say is, unhealed pain doesn't disappear. It shows up in other areas of our lives. So just because we may heal this pain for this certain particular situation does not mean that it may not come disguise something and something else. What I do have some clients that do like the once a month where we do the 5 days or 7 days once a month. And it kind of helps them to keep their refreshing going, to help guide them through whatever, situation that they're going through or what they want to enhance in their life, like their transformation or their next level or their success. But I have different type of programs and that can fit to everybody's needs.
So, okay, we're going to take another brief break, and we'll come back, and you can describe what some of those programs are like. We'll be right
Awesome.
back.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant. Like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to the Holistic Nurse. I'm here with Dee, who is a journaling integrative coach. And we were talking different ways how it's healing. What would you like to add to how you run your program, maybe, and how it's helpful?
Yes. So I do have three different offers or three different programs that I have. The first one is called My 5 Season Journals, which this one is a guided journal that helps you understand your current season of life. It's a faith centered, easy to use, and even if you never journaled before. So I pretty much just guide on emotional healing, reflection, personal growth. Then I have group ones, as well as one-on-ones, where with the groups one, we're using the journal as a healing tool, help process pain, life transition, emotional overload, even some support of clarity and confidence inside their inner peace, because peace is definitely key. And I promote that a lot. And then my last one is pretty much workshops that I like to do, or like speaking engagements that I do, certain little workshops, whether with women, youth, the community, focus on self discovery and turning, like I mentioned earlier, your trials into triumphs for practical, relatable, rooted in real life situations and experiences.
I think it's good for children to learn the habits of journaling young. What comes
Yes.
to mind recently in Philadelphia, I think last year, the year before, there was a little girl somewhere between 5 and 7, I forgot, in the inner city. She was being bullied all the time. And
Mm.
she was kind of recording her feelings in pictures, and she wrote a little book to go with the pictures without even telling her mother. Her mother, saw it one day, and the book is now published, and it goes like all over the country and the world.
Oh, wow.
It's in different languages even. Um, and that started off as just nobody trained her. She just had it within her. She wanted to,
Mm.
she needed to do something to feel like she was in control. And bullies tend to take that feeling away from you.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so journaling helps you be, your own witness and advocate for yourself. It empowers you because sometimes in the moment you're just so angry or so upset or feeling a victim, and you realize many times we're victims of ourself. And journaling puts
Mhm.
that in perspective. And like, gosh, why did I say that horrible thing about me? And uh, maybe you had a grumpy old relative that said that about all kids that bothered her. But it's just a really and it's a healthy thing to do because when we hold it in and we don't talk, and the mental health services are harder to access unless you're critically acute situations.
Mhm. Exactly.
Journaling is a way to help you focus to see what kind of mental health you need, if that's what you need, or, um,
Mhm.
and nobody has to see what you're writing, but it might help you realize when you need to go get additional help.
Exactly.
Uh,
I do agree.
yeah. So, and it just creates a safe place. And there's a lot of places on Earth right now that don't feel too safe. Um,
Yes, that is so true. It's so
uh,
true.
we don't talk politics on this show, but you living in
No,
Florida.
I totally
Anyway,
understand.
yeah.
Yeah.
So music, though, I'm sure plays a big part. Were you a
Yeah.
journaler before you got it? I mean, music's probably been a part of your life your whole life, I'm sure. It has
That is
been
yeah.
mine.
It definitely has been I have started, at 9 years old playing the piano, singing in church. So, yeah, music has definitely been a part of my life. It actually, I feel as though in most cases, music, like most people, has saved a lot of people and it saved me. And I feel as though that journaling has taken me to the next level to understand how music can be incorporated with journaling. And those are some type of those are little elements that I use with my clients when it comes down to music as well as drawing, artworks, stuff like that. I use those type of artistry things to help people through their journaling.
Now, I have special needs animals, and some of them are psychotic. And I was using a lot of the videos on YouTube, the relaxation for your dog and cat and bird. Uh, but sometimes it would agitate them. And one day, everybody was agitated at once, and I was getting agitated. And so I
Mhm.
felt desperate. And I said to Alexa, I said, Alexa, play Prayer of St. Francis.
Mm.
Right, he's the animal saint, right? Well, the animals all got real quiet, and they were quiet for hours. And so now every time they get agitated, I tell Alexa to play that song, and they love it. And if I put something else on, the bird will start squawking. He doesn't want it on. He lets me know, he wants the other song on. Music is such an important part, and it helps
Mhm.
us helps us reach our inner parts that, we're afraid to look at sometimes. Music kind of buffers it for us.
You're right,
And
and music definitely, aligns a lot with our 7 chakras. So
absolutely.
music definitely is a part of us, and it will always be a part of us no matter where we go.
So do you do with any of your clients any kind of movement activities too to help? Some therapists actually have like not a formal dance program, but
Mhm.
a movement thing to go.
So
Uh,
I use one of my clients, she's a lovely woman actually, and we use walking as one of her one-on-ones.
okay.
She used to be a tennis player and a volleyball player, but certain things in life, kind of had to adjust, and she was not able to do those no more. But she wasn't able to move the way she wanted to like she used to. So we started incorporating walking, and a lot of her thoughts and feelings and questions that she had and needed answers to really help her with her journaling and understanding how her life is now unfolding, but not in a negative way, but in a positive way that she just has to readjust herself to the new way, her new environment.
And I think journaling can help you see that you're still the same person. Nothing's
Mhm.
changed. But we all modify what we do. And I remember my childhood wasn't it had a lot of lower points and higher points, but if I needed to get out of a situation, we always had a family dog.
Oh.
The dog's got to go outside, and but I noticed that as I was walking, I was like, all right, I'm calmer now, so I'm not going to tell the adults what I really think. But I think I started plotting to leave home at 15 at that point, walking my dog. But it was kind of like a journaling inside my head that I didn't realize I was journaling, but I've always, been a writer and influenced by that.
Okay.
Um, and I had a teacher in junior high tell me that I had absolutely no creative artistic talent. She begged me to go to the band, and she'd give me an A for the course for the semester if I would just drop out and go sign up for band as the elective instead of art. And that was a relief for me, but I was always hurt. For years, I wanted to take art lessons, but I was afraid to, thinking, oh, she said I'm no good at this. So, and then as I got older, I realized, well, gee, I do crafts, I write, I'm good at music, I create music. I think she was a little bit, too powerful. I gave her too much
Mhm.
power. But when you're a child, that's what you do, you know.
Wow.
Um,
You're absolutely
so
right.
is there anything? Let me see what we have left here. Okay, we have a few more minutes. Um, is there any downsides to journaling? Can you think of any? I can't off the
Oh,
top of my
yeah.
head.
I mean, there is definitely a downside, and this is one that I hear all the time with my clients is I don't know what to write. I do not know what to write. I look at the paper and I don't know what to write, or I look at the question and I don't know what to say. And that's one of the downsides of it. So then what I do is I say, okay, no worries. Let's go about it this way. And I say, give me 60 seconds and write anything on the paper, whatever pops up in your mind. And that's one of the exercises that I work with my clients is the 60-second rule. The 60-second rule is you just write whatever comes up in your mind. If it's literally, I hate journaling, I hate journaling, I hate journaling, I want you to write it, because this shows me that it's not that you don't know what to write, is you're trying to you're trying to form it into a correct way when I just need you to write. I need you just to
Right.
freely write. So that is the downside. And be honest with you, Miss Peggy, I really love that when that happens, because it gives me a chance to say, okay, let's do the 60-second rule. So let's do the 60-second
Well,
rule.
you know, since I come with a little bit more of a global perspective with my clients, that's probably where I would just remind them that we're not judging. There's nobody's going to see it. I'm not even going to see it unless you want to share it with me. This is,
Mhm.
just for you. It's safe. It might give you an idea, why. every time you go to Aunt Mary's house, all of a sudden you get massive migraines, and it might not even
Mm.
be a personal relationship. Maybe she uses aromatherapy that, that causes migraines. I mean, be open-minded here. But we tend to, our body acts out physically when we're not dealing with emotions.
Mhm.
And, that's what Crohn's disease origin usually is. And, um, asthma sometimes, yes, you have the genetic predisposition to it, but uh, if you're not accepting of yourself and controlling, you know, uh, I don't want controlling is a bad word, but understanding who you are and that it's okay. We did a show last week on your diagnosis is not your identity, and
Mm.
journaling actually helps you get to that choice,
Wow. So
because
it's so that's a great one because what I have is your past does not dictate your future or it does not
right.
identify your future. So that's so funny that yours is that one. Yeah.
Yeah, because, I have people with chronic illnesses and they don't see themselves as a functional adult anymore. They
Mhm.
see themselves as I'm the diabetic, or, I'm the fibromyalgia, I'm the
Mm.
cancer. And you're not. You're Susie and you happen to have cancer, and you're going to the
Exactly.
best doctors that are available in your area, and it's okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
You got, as long as you have providers that you can trust and feel comfortable with, and, if you're comfortable with your providers and if you have a higher power, comfortable with, hospice is my nursing specialty. Not all nurses can do that because you have to be
Mhm.
comfortable with that stage of life,
Yes.
and it doesn't mean that you're not a bad nurse if you're not comfortable with that stage of life. You
Mhm.
can work with the newborns, or you can work with the healthy kids, school nurse and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so there's lots of options out there no matter what your situation is. And it's just important more than anything else, whoever was judging you as a child, you're an adult now.
Mhm.
Um, when you said, I got an image when you said, write something on paper. I got a picture of a 6-year-old girl who's all excited. She's going to write something, and and she's proud of what she wrote, regardless of even if it's nonsensical. I like macaroni and cheese or something.
And it's something
Uh,
simple, and that's one of my models is simple but effective, because the simplest things in life are very effective to people. And when you actually transform your life to a simpler life, you make a more bigger impact, not just on yourself, but on others that's around you.
Absolutely. I think we deliberately create distractions by complicating it and making it much worse,
Exactly.
harder than it has to be.
I say it all the time. I say humans make everything so difficult when it's not. It's very simple. When we walk through life, it does not have to be difficult. There is nothing, it's our lives are so easy that it with a fine tooth, you'll say we shouldn't have no problems. We shouldn't have no stress, no depression, no anything. But because you have so many influences around your brain, it starts to create emotions that should not be there.
I had a dog with spina bifida who was actually the alpha dog in my pack, but I noticed one day her legs didn't work. It wasn't connected to her spine. She wanted
Mhm.
a ball about 20 feet away. She took a deep breath, sucked her breath in, threw her dead legs in front of her, and scooted and
Mhm.
got what she wanted. And that's when I realized she didn't have a mother dog telling her, "Oh, poor baby, you're handicapped. You're different."
Exactly.
She did what she
Oh,
had to do to get it done. We're going to take our final break. We'll be right back in a couple minutes.
okay.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Welcome back. We've been discussing journaling as a healing modality, a way to learn to love yourself and accept yourself and forgive yourself for anything that you've been holding on to that maybe was less than healthy or helpful for you, so
Mhm.
that you can move on. And Miss D, how would you like to end the show today with your viewers?
So, definitely, if anybody have felt that anything that I have said or expressed today will be helpful, I would love for you all to reach out to me. My website is Everything Just D. So everything and then JSTDEE.com. If you want to purchase my journal book series, which my winter book is award winning book, and it's 5 of them. This is what the summer looks like, as well as the fall. And if you buy all 5 of them, it turns into a map. So if you put
Oh,
the books
cool.
together, it comes in as a map. Um,
Uh,
but
Excuse me, I
and
have a stupid question. What's the
yes,
fifth season? What is the fifth season?
so the 5th season is your season.
Ah, well, I love it. I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah, so the 1st season is your season, and, if you order the spirals from me personally from my website, you get a customized pin with the spiral books, but, Amazon is just the paperbacks. And then if you want to email me, you can email me at everythingjustd@gmail.com, because and so that I can continue to stay in contact. If you have any questions about journaling, just anything, if you just want to talk and want to talk to somebody, I am definitely here for that. But yeah, so that's how you can reach me.
So that has been very helpful. And again, I want to reassure people that this sometimes and usually does bring up uncomfortable feelings and ideas that maybe you've been suppressing for years, but when you put them on paper, they're not so scary. You know, when they're in your head and in the pit of your stomach and you want to throw up or run to the bathroom, that's not fun. But if it's on a piece of paper, you can rip it up if it's bothering you, and get rid of it. But at least you got it out. Um,
Exactly.
if you have, issues maybe with a deceased parent that were never resolved, you can write a
Hmm.
letter to the deceased and say, I'm really upset about X, X, and Y, and but I grew up anyway, and my life is good. You can even say in spite of you or despite you, yeah, but you got it out, and it's not held up in your body and your heart. You can't grow if your heart is full of all these distractions and the pain. Pain's
Exactly.
a natural part of life, um, and even physical pain. Journals are helpful to tell your doctor maybe what days are worse or what activities cause more pain than other things, because it's not as easy to get pain medication anymore, and that's not often the best choice anyway in a lot of types of pain. But people come to doctors asking for Percocets when it's really emotional pain that they're feeling, but it's being expressed in bad headaches or back pain or just in really weird places. Your body's pretty smart, and it's going to keep
Oh
pounding
yeah.
you with clues until you look in the mirror and say, all right, I hear you. What do I have to do to
Exactly.
make you happy? um, so I think that's and I just want to encourage people, by journaling, you're teaching your body that you don't have to be alone. You're not alone.
Hmm.
You're you're kind of stepping outside, but you're not dissociating. You're there to say we're on the same team, and I want you to be healthy, and I'm going to be healthy. We'll do it together, and we'll pick each other up when we fall. And it's just got to learn to love it. We get to most people by the time they're adulthood, they don't love themselves very much, and they don't even know why.
Yeah,
Uh,
they don't, but it really is the why. The why I could tell them is the environment. It's all the noise that is manifesting inside, or not even manifesting, but mostly embedded inside of them. You got to think about it when you start to talk as babies, and you start to get into adulthood and toddler age. You start having influences from individuals that are not like you, that don't think like you, and then that's how negativity starts to brew up, and not unless positivity doesn't come into your life. So it's a lot,
it's a
for
lot. Well, thank you for joining us today, everybody. Please reach out to. Remember, her website is just, but without the U. It's
yes.
everything JSTD. That's .com.
Yeah,
Uh,
JSTDEE.com.
DEA.com. All right. Thank you for joining us today. I hope it was helpful information for everybody. And Dee, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. We'll keep in touch.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
This has been The Holistic Nurse with host Peggy Smith. Tune in each week where you're encouraged to send in questions and receive private responses and suggestions if appropriate. Thursdays, 1 p.m. Eastern.